All right, improvised harness. I take my 15-foot rope webbing and find the place where I have marked the middle so that it's even. Mark the middle, put that in the middle of my back, or start with it on the opposite hip. For this improvised harness, we like to tie blue on one side, orange on the other side. Doesn't matter which, you just don't want to tie them on the same side because then it's harder to do a safety check. So I put my line in the back. I know I'm going to tie to my left side, so I'm just going to move these over, hold my webbing, and then move it back to the front. So all that does is make sure this line now is aligned with my right hip because I know I'm going to end up on my left, and it will make the end strands even so you don't run out of webbing. For the surgeon's knot, it's pretty simple. It's just like tying a shoe, but you do it twice. So you do your typical beginning of tying a shoe, and then I take this on my left side, I just take this tail and put it through one more time. So it's double. Then you want to make sure it's snug on the top of your hip bones, really snug, right? Life-saving device. And I'm going to wrap these around the back, cross them, bring them forward. I'm going to take, because I'm tying on my left side, I'm going to take the webbing in my right hand and slip it through this surgeon's knot in the front so that it comes up through the top. Just kind of slipped underneath there. Go to my left side, I'm going to make my square knot, which is just, you can do right over left or left over right. So it just depends, whichever way you want to do it, doesn't matter. Right over left, left over right, however you remember to do it, it doesn't matter, okay? And then what I want to show you is this little, just make sure you get it nice and tight and make sure you have this little horseshoe. So it's like two peeling out and then one on top, okay? So you'll have that and you can kind of move it through. And that means you made a square knot. Once you're done with the square knot, you have your two even tails and you're gonna do 2 half hitches on this side of the knot and 2 half hitches on this side. So first I'll take this tail of my webbing. I'm going to put it underneath this part of my webbing. You'll have a loop here, just like we learned to do the half hitch before. Stick that webbing through there, half hitch 1. And then I do it a second time. Stick it in there, half hitch 2, right? Nice and snug. Then I do on the other side of the knot, grab my other tail, see the space right there, pull it through. Then we do a second one so that we have 4 half hitches, 2 on each side of our square knot. Then I just take this excess webbing and put it in my pocket. If we're going with boy, we finished blue. Next one's orange. This is my orange, 20 foot. I'm going to look for my line to mark the back. This time I don't want to end up on my left side. I want to end up on my right. So I turn it to the side, hold my line, turn it back to the middle. And I'm going to tie my surgeon's knot again. Remember, like tying a shoe, it's a little longer. There's the first part of it, and then I do it one more time. Pull it taut. This time, I'm not going to go around the back yet. I'm going to drop these down, nice and flat, nice and tight. And I'm just going to reach through my legs to grab these guys, okay? So I reach through my legs. You're starting to get your seat and you want it to be comfortable. So adjust it however you need to adjust it to make sure that it's comfortable, okay? There we go. Even kind of sit in it as you're doing it to make sure it stays tight, even in a sitting position. Then we're going to bring each strand forward with a nice straight line, and we're going to pull it through the front webbing. Okay, so then pull this one through, Try not to get any bends and twists. Makes it easier to tie your knots if you're straight, and safer too. You're gonna pull it really tight, kind of like squat down. Imagine that it's holding your weight. Make sure it's in the creases of your leg. Then you're gonna wrap around the back. Once you have it situated, trying to keep it straight, come to the front. This time, instead of just wrapping through that first surgeon's knot, the blue one, we're gonna wrap through both the orange surgeon's knot and the blue one. Because I'm going to my right side, I'm gonna put my left webbing underneath there. So I go through all these knottage, making sure my belt stays on. There. Okay, so once we have that taken care of, we move this to the side and we make our square knot. Again, so you can do right over left, left over right, however you remember it. I don't even know what I do, but it works. And I know that that trick works for you. Either way, if it looks wrong, you can always try it again. Make sure it looks like that little horseshoe mark with the two webbing there and the webbing on top. And then again, we're going to do the 2 half hitches on each side. So I take my front webbing, go underneath this part of my webbing. I have a loop, go through the loop, half hitch 1, bring it through the top, through that loop, half hitch 2, then this part, bring it through there, okay, and through that half hitch 1 on the back side, and then the final half hitch through here. Okay, there. Again, take all this excess webbing and put it in your pocket. You'll have more room in your 511s than I do in these. And we're on boy, the Y in boy, yellow, baggins, 12-foot, yellow. I have this line, which isn't as important for this one. I could just drop that line by my foot and kind of step on it because we're going to need the ends. We're going to make our water knot or waterman's knot. Make sure you have enough so that you have maybe like a 3-foot tail. So you just take your webbing, right? I wrap it over my hand. So I leave the tail in front. Is that what I do? Do it this way so you can see. Just like a regular knot, but you're just sort of cinching it so it makes this little triangle. Okay, that's a little bit of a long tail. Better a long tail than a short tail. And for me, I know that my my harness is going to end up being a little bit long in the end, so that's fine for me, depending on how tall you are. You may want to leave less of a tail. Then you're just going to train. So I find this tail. I'm going to follow the tail back through this knot. I'm just going to follow this webbing all the way around. It goes around there. So I'm going to go around there. It goes up here. So I'm going to go up there, right? You're just following it around and then it goes through here. So I'm going to go through there, okay? Then you pull it back through so that you have tails on both sides and that nice little square water's knot in the middle. And you can make it nice and pretty. And that prettiness, I think, actually makes it a little more secure. So then you have this loop and you want to make an X on your back. So you're just going to kind of twist so that there's an X in front of you and then put it on like a t-shirt or something. Make sure, double check that you actually have an X on the back. If not, try again, right? This knot is kind of annoying. Make sure it's not right on your back, but also make sure it's not right in your front. You don't want it like in the middle of your harness because then it gets kind of hard to tie. So we have our harness like this. I'm going to take my right side and go through this left side, and then I'm going to go through it again. And you're just going to pull it tight to the front of your chest. Okay? Then you're going to hold this front part flat and leave a loop right here. I hold my thumb there. Pull this through all of that harness and then stick it through that loop without making it ugly, right? So you have a knot in the front of your chest. This is too long for me because you're then going to take your webbing and hook it in, and that would be too loose. So I know I'm going to tie another knot to make it a little bit shorter. You don't always have to do this. Some of you maybe will have to tie two if you don't have a long torso. Then you don't pick your nose up. You want to go down with it and go through both these surgeon's knot and all this extra webbing. And make sure your belt doesn't come off. It's like comedy. Okay. There we go. So that feels pretty nice for me. I tighten it. There we go. And then feels nice and snug. Okay. So then you make sure you don't pick your nose again. Going down through the front, through all this webbing. And that will be where you attach your rope to rappel. Okay, so you have one there and one connecting this chest harness to your seat. Voila. Beautiful.